A largely inexperienced Kent team was shown the class of the Sri Lankans as the tourists warmed up for their one-day series with England with a comprehensive 128-run win in Canterbury in a day-night 50-over clash. Acting captain Sam Northeast won the toss and decided to have a bowl first, and Robbie Joseph made the perfect start by having Kusal Perera caught by Alex Blake off his very first delivery at the start of the game's second over. Joseph made an impressive start to this game by also causing some early problems for Tilarakni Dilshan, who was trying to make the most of the power play overs, of course. A good crowd in Canterbury may not have been too upset to see Dilshan and Kumar Sangakkara join forces to get their side moving in the right direction. Sangakkara, of course, had warmed up for this game with a championship 100 for Durham at Sussex just a couple of days before. These two raced the total along to 53 in the 8th over when Dilshan, on a 28-ball 35, picked the wrong delivery from Joseph to pull, the result being a top edge to Kent debutant David Griffiths, the former Hampshire player. If seeing Dilshan in action wasn't exciting enough, those enjoying a warm afternoon now saw Sangakkara together with Mahela Jayawardena, two of the most experienced international cricketers on the circuit, and two class acts. What a moment it must have been then for 20-year-old fast bowler Charlie Hartley, who, having performed for a while in the Kent second team, got his first ever opportunity in the first 11. He did concede a couple of boundaries in his opening over. A number of the Sri Lankan batsmen got in, although none made a score of note. With a total of 91 in the 15th over, Adam Ball bowled Sangakkara for 33, a lovely moment for the left armour. James Treadwell, who will have an important role to play in the NatWest T20 Blast for Kent as well as for England in the one-day series, was back in the team and bowled steadily throughout, even though he didn't cause Jayawardena a whole host of problems. To be fair, he didn't have too much time bowling at the Sri Lankan legend, who, having eased to 30, missed time to hit off Hartley to be caught by Blake at mid-on. It was a moment the bowler from Bromsgrove will never forget as long as he lives. Jayawardena was out with a total of 127 for 4 at the end of the 23rd over, and Kent would have been delighted with their progress. But then the Sri Lankan captain Angelo Matthews came in and played the best innings for his team. He wasted little time in getting on with things as his side tried to erase the shock defeat to Essex in a shortened game the other night. Matthews hit the first sixes of this innings. It appeared that neither were particularly cleanly struck off Griffiths, but both had enough power behind them as the tourists started to pick up the pace, bringing up the 200 in the 39th over before Matthews and Lahiro Tirimana took their partnership to 84, made in 17 overs. Matthews had just completed his 50 off 58 deliveries when he was out to his next one with a one-handed scoop off Joseph, which was caught by the running ball to lead the Sri Lankans on 211 for 5 with 10 overs of their innings remaining. Tirimana had struck only one boundary in his 73-ball 49 before he was totally foxed by Treadwell to be stumped by Sam Billings at 220 for 6 with 52 balls of the innings now remaining. So it was time for a late burst from the remaining Sri Lankan batsman. Dinesh Chandimal pulled a rare bad ball from Treadwell over mid-wicket for a 6 before he repeated the dose off ball along with the big hitting Tisara Perera as 17 runs came off over number 48. Perera made 29 off 22 but was bowled by the impressive Joseph, playing in his first List A game for nearly 2 years. It was his last over and he finished with figures of 4 for 58. With Chandimal making 47 off 31, the tourists ended on a very competitive total of 301 for 7. There had been no real fireworks in that innings, so Kent may have fancied their chances, but they were set back by losing 2 wickets early on. Daniel Bell-Drummond nicked a wide ball from Suranga Lakmal behind in the 4th over, and Fabian Cowdrey was out for a duck in the 6th as Lakmal clipped the top of his off stump with an ideal delivery. And because of that, Kent weren't able to get their teeth into the chase. Blake gave it a very good go, but he had to go on without Northeast when the Kent captain clubbed a ball from Perera to his namesake at mid-on after making 26. Northeast left with his side on 52 for 3 in the 14th over. Ben Harmison, one of the few in this side who've been playing championship cricket so far this summer, then drove Pereira to Lackmal after making only a single, and that left Kent in some trouble. What they needed was a partnership of note to keep themselves in with a shout. In spite of 4 men falling for 59, there was still a chance of doing England a favour by ruining the tourists' confidence in these conditions if Blake and Billings could start to rebuild the innings. Of course, from Kent's side, this was a chance to try out the 50-over format, one which will be used again in the domestic summer in July. Sides will learn that a lot can still be achieved from 4 down in the first 16 overs. Blake and Billings did well in adding 68 runs in just 8.5 with some canny stroke play. Blake making a 50 off the same number of deliveries, his first in List A cricket for some 4 years. Alas, things began to go awry once that Billings on 29 went, after Pereira, and edged behind to Sangakkara at 127 for 5. But Ball just about kept his side in contention. This 6 turned out to be the only one of the innings though, and that won't win many one-day games these days. Blake can at least be pleased with his contribution. He'd made 60 when he connected well enough with his shot off Nuwan Kulasekara, but found Matthews in the deep. The others fell quickly after that. Ajantha Mendis bowled Treadwell on 8, the first of 3 late wickets for the mystery spinner, who didn't prove to be too mysterious otherwise. He also had Ball well stumped by Chandimal, who'd by now taken the gloves from Sangakkara. Ball was out for 26 at 166 for 8. Without any addition to that total, Joseph was bowled by Lackmal for a couple, leaving it to Mendis to finish things off as Hartley swung him out to deep mid-wicket, where Thisara Pereira held on. In the end, it wasn't really very close, but it was a game that many of the Kent players will have taken valuable experience from. The margin of victory was 128 runs, which was no disgrace for a fairly young side against one of the best one-day teams in world cricket. Now Kent can get back to championship business with a 4-day game against Gloucestershire, which begins in Bristol on Sunday.